Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Digital Services Forum. Today, we're going to talk about strategic planning in ServiceNow. And we have a couple of guest speakers, and we'll look at it from both sides. So this is actually the perfect meeting. The intention of the Digital Services Forum was to have part of the meeting with customer perspectives and part of the meeting with ServiceNow perspectives. So more of an academic side and then more of a practical usage side. So we're going to have both of those perspectives today on strategic planning. All right, so if today's your first time, go ahead and post your name in the chat. We definitely want an active chat here because that's really the community interaction. We always have a lot of people posting things in there as we go or getting ideas. So just use the chat as a brain dump. But if it's your first time, especially, make sure you introduce yourself. Tell everybody in the group where you're from, and that will be useful so we can see who's on the call. What I will post inside as we go, you'll see in the chat that I'll post this link to our community, which will bring you to a page, which will give you everything on the community. So there's basically four main pieces that you want to look at. One is our sign up for future sessions. Another one will be to download all the presentation material that's shared by presenters, or even sometimes we even have code. And then there'll be previous videos on there, so you can go back to any of these sessions that we've had. You're able to go back there and see those sessions. So that'll all be listed on this one link, so you don't have to jump to a bunch of different places to get to all our resources. Like I said, I'll post that in the chat. So our agenda for today, we're gonna jump right in to content, and I'm gonna hand it off to Tina. Tina comes from WGU, and she's gonna start with how they're using strategic planning workspace. And then I'm gonna hand it off to Sandeep. I have one thing to do. I just wanna launch so as Tina introduces herself, I will go ahead and just do this quick poll just to see what he is. And then I'll hand it off to you, Tina. I don't know if you wanted to make any comments on the poll or anything like that, but we'll get an idea of if you're talking to people who have never seen this before or people that seen a little bit or are using it. So this way we'll get a good sense of that. So I'll just leave it open for another couple seconds. And this way we should have all our guests in before you start talking to you.
Sure. That'll be helpful. I'm going to talk about WGU's journey with SPM capabilities, including SPW, and then Sandeep will give a demo of how to use it. So I'll show you a little bit about it, but he can give a better demo than I can anyway. So.
All right, so I'll end the poll here and see if you want to comment on it. Do you see the results there?
Yes.
Okay. So that might help you too, Sandeep, just to understand the people that are on and their familiarity.
Definitely. I took a screenshot, John.
Okay, excellent. And I'll let people in, but I'll hand it off to you, Tina, to get us kicked off.
Okay, sounds good. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
All right.
Okay. So my name is Tina Watson, and I am the ServiceNow platform owner at Western Governors University. I've been at WGU for 2 years. I've worked with ServiceNow for 12 years. So I've also worked at 2 different GE businesses and at DTE Energy. So I have a lot of experience with the platform. We had also implemented SPM in my last job as well. So just a brief bit about WGU. Western Governors University is actually the largest university in the country by student enrollment. We are 100% online, and we're a bit different than other universities. We're competency-based, and we target underserved populations. So the tuition is a lot less. It's online only. So if you hadn't heard of WGU, that's just a brief bit about us. I think we actually are up to 150,000 students currently enrolled. So, and then also just briefly, WGU has had ServiceNow since 2012. Like I said, I joined in 2022. And whoops. One of the things we did in 2022 is to implement a CMDB. We had been using the ITSM capabilities for years, but it's very common in the education space for people to not add a CMDB. So we've been standing that up, and I'm looking forward to that being fully mature and being able to marry that to the things that we're doing in SPM. That's on our roadmap. And then we started using SPM within my team in 2022, and we've done a university-wide rollout of SPM since then. So WGU has embraced SPM in a big way. We're using it across the university to manage all capital projects and requests. So my team started with a pilot, and I'm going to digress briefly on that. We had John Spirko come in and conduct a LEAP assessment for us. And if you aren't familiar with the LEAP, the architects can post things about that in the chat. But basically, these are slides that came from our LEAP recommendation. And what had happened in that is that John came in and first he interviewed a couple of our VPs to identify what strategic imperatives we had. Then he conducted a series of workshops with managers and directors to understand what our business challenges were in each one of those. And then from that, he created a suggested roadmap with a list of things to do for each one of these imperatives. So it was about a 2 or 3 months process. ServiceNow doesn't charge for that. Ask for your account manager. I highly recommend it. But when John gave this to us, this was an overwhelming amount of information. I couldn't keep it all straight in my head at once. So what I chose to do is to take each one of his recommendations and create a demand in ServiceNow. And then we could use SPW, we could use demand management and SPW to be able to process the recommendations that he gave us and come up with an integrated roadmap. The other benefit that had is that it gave my team hands-on experience. I have a ServiceNow team that has about 8 people on it, 6 developers and a BA and an architect. And it gave us a chance to get our hands in and understand how to use the tool before our stakeholders did. And that was really helpful. So it was a good way to get our team started. This is what strategic planning workspace looks like. And I use this a couple of ways. One of them, you can see that some of the things this is all of the demands and all of the projects that we're displaying on our roadmap. Like I said, Sandeep will go do a deeper dive demo of how this works. This is just how we're using it. So I've actually got some filters on for a reason. One of the things that I can do with this is that we can rearrange things and drag things around based on what our roadmap should look like and which capabilities we want to implement when. But I also have a governance board. We created a governance board after I started for the platform. And at WGU, I have 6 vice presidents that are on my governance board. So when I go in to meet with my governance board, I use SPW to say, here's the roadmap for this platform. But I don't necessarily need them to see every single demand. There's some things that are lower level details that are just not important to be discussed at that level. So I've created some filters to be able to filter things out. So I have a view of my roadmap that I use with my team. That's the full set of things that I'm doing, and a different view that I take to my executive leadership that shows only the ones that I really want their input on, so that I can use it as a sanity check to say, this is, we're going to implement software asset management next. Do you think that should come ahead of these things, or should something else get moved in first? So, so we found, and it also then with that audience showcases what the tool can do. So the first time I went in with this to my VP board, I got a great reaction to them seeing this roadmap in the tool and what the tool is capable of doing. So like I said, I'm not going to go into a lot more of these pieces because Sandeep will do that. Currently, my team uses the plan, the prioritization, and the road mapping. ServiceNow has added capacity planning. We're just starting a pilot of capacity planning. We do use resource management in our IT organization. We've played around a little bit with scoring. We're currently not using the scoring capabilities, and we're just starting a pilot to use goals. So we're not fully leveraging everything that the tool is capable of yet. Then we started last January, in January of 2023, we started our business-wide rollout of all of the strategic portfolio management capabilities. This is the platform for all projects and demand management at WGU, which helps quite a bit. We have one intake process that fans out to multiple organizations, and I'm going to show that on the next slide. So people will submit something through our intake process, and our portfolio managers, there's different demand managers depending on what part of the business they're in, will review the intake, and where it's appropriate, they'll end up converting these demands to projects. Another thing that we've done, because that speaks well to all the projects and initiatives that we have, but we also, I'm part of a ServiceNow team here as part of our operational teams that support infrastructure and so on. So we also set up programs for our operational teams so that it fits in the whole framework. And when our leadership are looking at things like resource management, it includes all the resources, not just project-related work. We created a catalog item in the service catalog to do our project intake. In SPM capabilities, the way that it's designed in ServiceNow is you start with an idea, people submit ideas, the ideas may be converted to a demand, the demands may be converted to projects or epics. We chose not to use idea, mostly because idea is a suggestion box, but it was too simplistic. We wanted more information to be able to use to route the thing. So we created a catalog item instead, and we don't use idea. In a previous discussion I had with somebody, they wanted to see our intake form. So I've included a screenshot of this. And we created a custom field that's called initiative type. You can see that on this form, everything, and we've added that field to our demands on our projects. That determines which portfolio manager is going to be screening this initiative. Our portfolios we structured, WGU doesn't have multiple companies like, say, a GE. So at the company level, we have one company, and we've created our portfolios are pretty much organizational. Each VP area has portfolios at WGU. So the way that we channel our work isn't necessarily by portfolio, it's more by this initiative type that we created. And then EdTech is the IT organization. So if you choose EdTech, we have quick wins, so it doesn't go through our full annual planning cycle. And again, this form will create a demand that gets routed to one of our product managers or portfolio managers. This is the life cycle of demand. I'm not going to step through all of the steps, but we have different approval steps at various stages. People will submit a request. This is one that our academic organization put together. So this is the flow for the I have three main stakeholder groups that use this capability. One of them is EdTech and IT. One of them is our CFO organization, and one of them is our academic organization. So all of them are using this capability here. This is something the academic side had put together. So there's a series of steps that we go through, but the thing that I wanted to emphasize in terms of road mapping is that when we're in the demand cycle, this part in the middle, when we're evaluating these demands and trying to decide what we're going to do and when we're going to do it, that's where SPW is most useful for us. When we get into the project phase where we're executing, Program Workbench and Investment Portal are more useful in those stages. SPW is intended as a planning tool, not an actuals tool. That was a bit of a surprise when we first started using it, but it makes sense. So then I included a couple of screenshots just to give you an idea to compare to SPW. In the execution phase, Program Workbench is on the left. So I can look at that, and for our training department, these are all of their projects. I can see their timelines and their status on their timelines. An investment portfolio, we actually aren't, there's a couple of numbers in here, but we aren't using financials yet in the platform because our Workday is our financial system. We need to build an integration to Workday so that our actuals are coming from Workday. So the numbers part we're not using that yet in the investment portal. But what I like about it is you can see that for the infrastructure portfolio, you can see all of the projects. So the one on the left is by program, the one on the right is by portfolio. So you can see all of the programs and their timelines and their status in that. So those come into play more when we're in the execution stage than SPW, which is in the planning stage. This is our structure that we have, and this is going to feed nicely into the demo Sandeep's going to show you with one of the lenses. So our company is WGU. We just have one company here. Our strategic priorities are the things that come from our WGU 5-year plan. So those are the priorities across the university. Then different teams may create initiative to support those priorities. And then underneath that, they may have strategic programs and strategic projects. So that's the way that we're leveraging these capabilities. And that I mentioned, we had added the initiative type as to our demands and projects. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So that we can use that to route things. And I have not been watching the chat. John, are there questions I should answer before I hand this off to Sandeep?
I think you're good for now, Tina. We'll open it up for questions at the end and.
Okay. Okay. And with that, that's an overview of SPM's of WGU's journey. And I'm going to turn it over to Sandeep to give you a demo.
All right, thanks, Tina. That was a great presentation. I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Well, we do have one question, Tina. What was the previous tool?
We had
Can you share
various
some
tools.
insights on how
Very
SPM?
Some of our teams were using Smartsheet. Some people used Excel. We did not have one standard.
Okay, if I find more later, I'll ask at the end.
Sure.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sandeep. I'm from SPM Inbound Product Management team. I specifically lead the strategic planning workspace. I've seen the poll in the beginning. I've seen that almost half the users are kind of still unaware about SPM. So I'll briefly talk about SPM overall, and then I'll jump into what Tina has demonstrated and how to do that in the tool. So before we talk about the product, I want to talk about this Forrester research that came in 2023, and they've categorized the organizations into 3 buckets. And most of the organizations, 59% of the organizations, are kind of still working in traditional mode. In fact, a lot of our customers also have been doing projects, programs, portfolios from several years. And typically in this traditional mode, people work towards delivering work, delivering projects, features, etc. It's more the mindset and the way people function is by delivering work. We have 38% of the organizations who kind of currently in the modern space, where people think about outcome-based planning, where you are working towards delivering outcomes rather than outputs. And we have a lot of customers currently adopting OKRs. OKRs is still a very complex subject for a lot of our customers because they all know the value of it, but then to bring in that culture into the organization to practice OKRs is not very easy. So it's a time-taking process to get to that maturity. So we have like 38% of the organizations currently adopting OKRs, which are helping them to think in terms of outcomes. And in the future fit, they see only 3% of the organizations are currently in future fit who have very systemic OKRs defined. Every work that they do from top to bottom aligns to their strategic priorities that is set by the executive management. In fact, some of the organizations are also thinking in terms of value stream management, where your thought process, your planning, everything kind of shifts towards delivering value to our customers. By seeing everything that is happening in the company as part of something that is going to deliver value to a customer. As you see, they have systemic OKRs. Keeping this in mind, our product also is going to help you to move towards the future fit journey, where you will be able to define your OKRs, think in terms of defining value streams, and then provide value to your customers. To summarize what SPM is, it is going to help you deliver the business outcomes with confidence by aligning all your work on a single platform. So it's going to help you to strategize the work, deliver it, continuously plan, iterate by keeping customer in the center of all this journey. So I want to cover all the areas that SPM touches on the platform. Again, as I said, it's going to help you deliver value to your customers by providing end-to-end visibility and insight from strategizing. So while in the strategy phase, your executive management comes up with strategic priorities, depending on which all your organization heads, they create goals and OKRs for everybody in the company. Depending on the goals, people in different organizations, they come up with their strategy roadmaps, you fund them. And another input to this is also from IT, especially the enterprise architect persona, who manages business capabilities and applications. They also want to align with the strategy of the company. So far, typically these are disconnected. They are in their own IT org, but SPM now helps you to connect enterprise architect also to the strategy of the company. Another input to the strategy and strategic roadmaps is the intake that you get from your business, internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, all the demand, the feedback that you receive from your products, from your digital portfolio, everything also becomes part of your strategy. Once you have your strategic roadmaps, you want to plan them. You want to do your PI planning with all your agile teams, continuous planning and delivery. So our EAP product helps you to do that. We also have, as I said, we help both traditional companies as well as hybrid companies and companies who are purely product. We also do project management, demand management. So you can either execute in the form of a project or in agile methodology. Once you execute, you deliver the product, you do the maintenance, you service your customers, you get feedback on how you are performing through the metrics, and then that's how you realize the benefits. And again, that benefits become input to your strategy to iterate your plans, change your direction, and then move forward. This is how SPM helps you to manage, to ideate, plan, prioritize, roadmap, execute, close the feedback loop again, and come back to your strategy, replan. I will now shift to the product and show you how we're going to do that. Let me see if there are any questions.
I think we're good right now.
All right, cool. So I will also demo from the same end-to-end journey of the personas who will be involved in doing these activities. So I'll first start with the feedback module. This is the intake phase, I would say. Before even you plan anything, you do anything, you actually look at your intake, which is all your demands or ideas, requests, feedback from your business, stakeholders, internal, external, right? This is primarily for a product manager kind of persona. Sorry, any question? Okay. This is primarily for a product manager persona, but it applies to any portfolio manager or even for that matter, even an enterprise architect, whoever is owning and managing a certain asset. And an asset can be a product, a business application, business capability, service, it can be anything. So if you think about a day in the life of a product manager, they work with multiple stakeholders, their primary customers, external stakeholders, right? And internally, they work with support team, outbound folks, people who are helping their customers, partners, and anybody who's enabling the GTM. And they get feedback constantly. Customers keep sending feedback, something is not working well, gaps in the product, etc. Sometimes they get this feedback through email. Product managers or portfolio managers tend to track this in Excel sheets, OneNote, multiple channels. They also even get messages on Teams or Slack. So currently, if you see, there are different channels. The information is quite distributed. So we built this new module called feedback to eliminate all that data loss and then multiple channels. This is one central repository that brings in all the data from various channels into one place. Let me show you this for a moment. I'm going to use a different.
One of the things I learned when Sandeep showed me this demo previously is that when I send him an email, he converts it into a customer feedback and stores it in ServiceNow. So on that graph you were showing, you can see that we've sent some different, he's got some feedback. He can filter by WGU and see just the feedback from us.
So here, yeah, so this is, yes, I'm going to show that, Tina. So this is one central repository where I, as a product manager, can see all the feedback from the stakeholders. Like it could be a customer meeting, from social media, email, or even manual feedback that I can enter. I can click on this button and quickly enter feedback right here whenever I'm talking to one of my stakeholders, right? And we've also integrated with Idea Portal out of the box. So any idea that is posted by your customers in the Idea Portal will come in as a feedback record here. So you, as a product manager or a person who is owning and managing an asset, you don't have to go through multiple channels. You can come here to one place and go through all your feedback. Now you have a bunch of feedback here. How do you manage it, right? You will review them from time to time, but once the feedback becomes really huge, it becomes really, it kind of becomes impractical for you to read everything. So we've also built a dashboard for you to help you to kind of accelerate your analysis of your feedback and then quickly discover your problems, right? So this dashboard surfaces up the top tags in your feedback count. Who are the top customers who's giving you feedback? What is the sentiment overall within your feedback for any month, or overall for that matter, how much negative feedback you have, positive and neutral feedback, right? And then once you have your feedback, you also want to tie it to your epics or demands or projects, the work that you're doing, so that the execution teams who are executing this work, they'll know why they're doing that work. So you'll kind of attach some meaning to the work that you're doing, and people will also understand this is the reason why we have to do this. Either you can link to an existing epic or create a new epic out of this and then move it forward. Sometimes you are not ready to execute it as an epic or a project right away, in which case you will create a new product idea out of the feedback. One thing I wanted to note, this product idea is different to the idea on the Idea Portal. So the product idea, you can consider it as a very lightweight demand, especially in the product world, in agile world. People don't want to have a heavy governance process around building something new. So if you quickly want to create a product idea, put some business case and send it to your management to get some approvals. So in which case you can associate a bunch of feedback and then create a new product idea, so that all your feedback is handy for you when this product idea is promoted to either an epic or a project or any execution item. So this product idea module will give you the full list of all the ideas that you have. So this is how I kind of talk about product ideas, is basically your wish list of items that you want to do. A lot of it is input from your stakeholders, but then you, as an enterprise architect or a portfolio manager or a product manager, you also know that these are the things that I need to do. These are the gaps in my product. My competitor product does so and so. So you can also just add items to your product idea, and this will be one big wish list of items. So this feedback and product ideas can help you kind of manage your intake. This is all your list of items. So if you see, feedback is like much larger funnel at the top, and then product ideas is like narrowing down to things that you really think you should do. Now you have your full backlog. You will now come and plan your portfolio plans, right? To build portfolio plans, we have introduced something called lenses. Again, in a company, there are several personas, and every personas look at work differently, and their planning processes also differ, right? For example, somebody who works at let's say for a business unit or a department, like a delivery manager, they look at their work. Work here is demands, projects, epics. You can also define anything else as a custom planning item, and that comes as work. Let's say you do enhancements, or let's say you do features, that also can come here. For example, a delivery manager looks at their work from a department perspective or from a BU perspective. They want to plan their work from that lens, right? Let's say you have a product org in your organization. Product managers typically look at the work from a product perspective. I own SPM product. Likewise, somebody owns ITSM, or let's say in a company called Google, somebody is working on Google Pixel phone. They want to plan their work through that product model. Likewise, let's say I'm an enterprise architect. I manage business capabilities, business applications. I also want to plan my work either through applications or capabilities. This is a new lens we've just introduced, out of the box lens, which is going to help the business enterprise architect persona to do plan the work. I'll also show you how we have the interaction between enterprise architect workspace and this. Likewise, we've introduced multiple lenses. And this is another lens that I want to talk about, strategic investments, where Tina was showing how they came up with the strategic priorities for WGU. And out of strategic priorities, they created a bunch of initiatives and strategic programs, and they tie the work. So strategic priority is something that is usually set by the executive management at the top. They come up with typically a handful of like 3 or 5 strategic priorities. Some people also call them big rocks, right? And those are basically your North Star for every year. Everybody in the company has to think about those strategic priorities whenever they are thinking of doing something new. Based on strategic priorities, one would create initiatives. Initiatives are typically long-term, 1 year or more. And then to manage those initiatives, they create smaller strategic programs, and then work is tied to them. So typically EPMO kind of persona, enterprise PMO kind of persona, uses a lens like this. Now let me go back and show you how a portfolio plan looks like. So if I open any portfolio plan, and you can use any lens. If out of the box lenses won't work for you, you can create your own lens or modify existing lens as well. So as a portfolio manager or a product manager or even an enterprise architect, when I come into this portfolio plan, I can see all my work under prioritization tab. So this is basically your backlog of all the work. And here you can see any type of work, because we support hybrid organizations who does project work, demand work, or even epics for that matter. So you can see epics, projects, demands all together in one backlog. You can prioritize them. As you review and prioritize them, you look at the goal alignment. Again, as I said, we as SPM help our customers to align with your strategy and then work towards your business outcomes. So you can plan, you can align all your work to your primary goals, and you can see what goals you're planning for, and then what work is being done under each goal. We also have a dedicated goals module where you'll be able to plan your goals for your entire, for whichever portfolio you're designing. Let's say for this company, my 3 goals are happy employees, inspire customers, leader in our industry. I create goals. I also define targets, and then I associate work. I can associate work from here, or when from my backlog, I directly associate work from here. So let's say here, I see that a lot of my work is associated to goals, but at the same time, I see 83 items have no goals. So this is how I make sure to go and update my goal alignment to the work, and I will not take up any work that isn't really achieving any goal for me. Also, depending on the goal alignment, I want to prioritize the work which are helping me, which are contributing in helping me achieve the goals that I'm more interested in, because you also have priority for your goals. Once you have your backlog, you prioritize them, you can stack rank them, because you always have a lot of work to do, but then you can only do so much. You always have limited budget, limited people, some timelines to meet, some milestones to meet, so you can stack rank them. So again, to help the planning personas to rank the items, we introduced scoring module, where we have introduced 3 out-of-the-box scoring frameworks called RISE, WSJF, which is very widely used in safe environments, and value versus effort. 3 out-of-the-box scoring frameworks. You will be able to modify these frameworks and create new ones, because we also realize every organization prioritizes work differently. They think of work differently. For example, here, for your backlog, you have RISE framework. You can see for every investment, typically the planning persona collaborates with their stakeholders and come up with reach. Reach is how many customers this is going to impact. Let's say this investment, I'll say 50 customers. And what is the impact? Is it really going to improve the productivity? Is it going to increase my customer satisfaction rate? How confident am I about my estimates? Typically, when I have data about my estimates, I'll give confidence as high. But then if I don't have enough data to back up my estimates, it's from intuition or my experience, my confidence will be low. You take effort from your engineering team who is going to build the stuff for you. And accordingly, the RISE will generate score for you immediately. And once I populate scores for all these items, I can go back to my planning module and rank my items by RISE score. And I'll say descending because the item with the highest RISE score should be ranked on the top. It's going to rank all my items for me by RISE score. If I bring my RISE here. So items with the highest RISE score is placed on the top. You will still be able to manually fine-tune ranking by just dragging and dropping the items. So once you have your backlog prioritized, you can now roadmap them. Typically, roadmap kind of needs your leadership involvement, a lot of collaboration and alignment with your management and buy-in as well. So roadmap helps you to visualize how your investments are kind of placed on the timeline. You'll be able to see this by month, quarter, year, and you can personalize this roadmap the way you want to, depending on the context with whom you're talking, how you're collaborating. You can group by your stuff. Let's say I want to group by my primary goal because I'm interested in what goals I'm working towards. And I'll also group by priority. And I want to color by my planning item. I want to color by, let's say, strategic priority. So here, as you can see, this roadmap helps you to see what goals you're working towards and what kind of work you are also roadmapping, you're adding into your plan for next, let's say 1 year, 2 years. And you will also be able to see dependencies between items so that when you as a planning person is planning this work, you want to make sure dependencies are met. You can also create milestones for your roadmap so that all your important dates are tracked and then you plan your work accordingly. We have different views introduced in this roadmap for your ease of use. Especially people in the agile world use Kanban boards more. I'm going to show you my own instance, how we as product managers use our own ServiceNow within the company. And if I go back here, I'll show you the hierarchy view that will give you a complete picture of how things are aligned. So I've used the organization lens here. If you expand company, these are the different BUs. I can see the departments under BU and then how work is aligned. And I can also pivot to a different lens and see, let's say I want to see how this work is aligned to the product. The same work, what I was looking from an organization perspective, I can also see from a product lens perspective, or for that matter, how these are aligned to my different strategic initiatives and priorities. So these are my different, I'm working towards employee experience. That's my strategic priority. And these are the 2 initiatives I'm planning. And under each initiative, these are the different programs. And this is the work that I'm planning for those initial programs, right? So this is how you get a full picture of how the work is aligned to your organization. You'll also be able to do your capacity planning. Again, this helps to make sure that you have enough capacity to execute your roadmap. You plan your roadmap, but then you also need to make sure that you have enough resources. Likewise, we also have several customers who do financial planning. You need enough budget to execute certain work. Today, as of today, we do not have financials yet in SPW at portfolio level. We're currently working on them, and then by end of this year, most likely, we should have financial planning also available in SPW. So that was quite a lot. I'll take a pause here to see if you have any questions.
The last question was on licensing. What ServiceNow licenses are required to reach this level of product use?
Yeah, so we have 2 licenses, SPM Standard and SPM Pro. SPM standard is mostly targeted for our traditional organizations who work on project, program, and portfolio. Only project work is supported in this workspace. It's going to be called Portfolio Planning Workspace. To do your strategic planning, agile planning, product feedback, enterprise agile planning, you need SPM Pro.
Hey, Sandeep, this is Jennifer. I was wondering if you can show also, as you relate your planning items to your goals, how are completion of your planning items reflected in increasing the metrics on your goals?
Yep. So Jennifer, today, I'll do one thing. I'll go here. I'll open the goals module. So today we allow you to associate work to the goals. Let's
Right.
say then, but we do not really roll up the percentage progress of work to the goal because we have different types of goals. And we are currently working towards associating work to the targets as well, not just goals. So here, for example, happy employees, this is the work item, Acme new hire service that is associated to this. We are not rolling up percentage progress to the goal directly. That's in our roadmap.
Okay.
There are several other use cases that we need to consider before we do that. Some of our customers consider that when the work is done, the goal is achieved, but then some customers don't necessarily see it that way. They see that work is contributing to the goal. However, that goal will be achieved by a result or the benefit that you get out of that work. So that's why you're not directly rolling up as of now. But as I said, we hear that from customers. And in the upcoming May release, we also allow you to associate work to the targets directly because targets are more measurable. They're usually quantitative.
Right. Okay.
Become even more meaningful, perhaps if we allow that roll-ups.
And Sandeep, it's Doug. I can make a comment on that too. Most of the time, and this is a good example, happy employees. So ServiceNow internally, we do an EVS, employee voice survey. That's a separate item, not related to a specific project or epic. It's something that happens in a certain time frame, and that would get reported directly against that target. And we do have the capability to pull that metric from any table on the ServiceNow platform. So if this is a reduction, let's say in incidents or something like that, you can auto feed that into your goal framework. You could do something at the project level, but generally that's not the level that those targets are being captured at.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks, Doug. So for now then, it's advancing the metrics that you have that advances your goals.
Exactly.
And maybe in the future, we'll line up the planning items to the targets so that they'll impact the goals. Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But as of today, if you're tracking any of your targets using PAR metrics or any other ServiceNow tables, you can automate them so that you don't have to manually go and update. As Doug said, they will automate all the actuals for you, and then you can see them in the goals UX.
Right, but that's only if you have actually a source, right, to update it with.
Yes.
Right. Okay, thank you.
And most of the other questions, it looks like Tina answered. Is there any we missed? Anybody just go ahead and speak up if there's questions I missed in the chat for either Sandeep or Tina.
Hey, John, this is Scotty Martin. There was a question I posted earlier just about the overall approach, because it sounded like there was an enterprise-wide push, but I wonder, was there a pilot and kind of some testing before that enterprise-wide approach?
At WG, no, there was not. There was about the time I joined, WG was going through a decision process to choose a tool. But it had already decided to do this enterprise-wide. ServiceNow was the tool that was chosen.
Got it. Thank you so much. Yep.
Yep. My team did a pilot of this. The ServiceNow team did our own pilot, which helped us to get experience. I had also used SPM at a previous company at DTE Energy. They were using this same thing for all of their capital projects.
Is anybody else using it that had a different approach that could help Scotty out?
I can just mention that with different customers, we have done kind of proof of concepts to validate the model for them. We've done with some very large financial services organizations. We've done that approach. So we have seen customers, do that validation before they go enterprise wide.
We also at WGU, we worked with a vendor partner and that helped a lot. They've implemented this capability at many, many companies. I have a team of really good developers, but they don't have domain knowledge in the capabilities. So we bring in vendor partners to help us get that domain knowledge so that we can learn how these things work and how they're intended. This is a complex capability and it helps to have a vendor partner in this one.
That's great. Thanks, Tina. Thanks, Doug.
All right, we have some more time, and I'm going to show you a couple more things that I mentioned earlier. So, especially for an enterprise architect persona from EA Workspace perspective. So, typically, enterprise architects don't come into SPW much, but I hope that they're going to do that soon. So, enterprise architects spend most of their time here as they manage their business capabilities and applications. So this shows the entire hierarchy of all their capabilities. So if I expand this, usually capabilities are nested and applications as well. There are so many sub capabilities and sub applications. Enterprise architect can now view the roadmap for any of these assets at any level. So if they go here, they will be able to see the view roadmap. And when I click on this, it opens up a portfolio plan for them automatically. So that they don't have to go and create everything. So if there was work associated, they will be able to do everything what I've shown so far and from a portfolio plan perspective. This is more like giving a preview to an EA persona so that it kind of helps them to discover how to use this feature. And another thing that I wanted to show you is internal implementation of SPW for our own product managers. I want to quickly show you the roadmaps that we maintain in ServiceNow. So these are our roadmaps, actual product roadmaps. So this is the product roadmap for SPM for 2024 and 2025. So these are all our initiatives grouped by theme. For example, SPM plan with East through innovation. There are a bunch of items that we're planning, and these are all the things that we plan at initiative level. And we also do capability roadmaps. So we do planning at 3 levels: initiatives, capabilities, and epics. So initiative is somebody first who owns product at the top. So my manager who owns SPM, inbound product management, she manages initiatives. And product managers who kind of own product areas and plan for their own product areas, we manage capabilities. As I said, Kanban, another view that we use heavily is a Kanban view. This kind of shows you what is coming out in each store release. We at ServiceNow, we do store releases every quarter. So here you can see what are the capabilities that are coming out in each store release. For example, in 2024 Q1, these are all the capabilities that are coming out. So we typically share this with our internal stakeholders, outbound product success, so that everybody's aligned, engineering, design, everybody's aligned to our plans. Another interesting thing I want to show you is the feedback module. So this is the feedback for my product. I can filter here for my product, which is strategic planning. And let's say, so today morning, I got an email from one of our customers. This is an email I got from ING today morning. And as a product manager, I keep getting several such emails, and sometimes I I kind of lose the track of them. So what I can do, I could quickly click on this plugin called ServiceNow for Product Feedback. It's an Outlook plugin available for all of you to use. It just opens up a form very quickly. It copies the content into the form. You can see the body is copied into the form. I have to just tie it to my product. I have to say which product this is for. I can also say the customer name because it is integrated for us. And I just save it. And it'll come into my feedback module for me if I just refresh this. I will. Yeah, so this is the one. I have it here. So as a product manager, I'll have all my feedback at one place, and I don't have to scramble around and sometimes lose a lot of information. So if I see here, I can see the whole body right here. And from here, I can take action, give a disposition, or I can promote into a new product idea. So this is how we use SPW internally for our product manager persona.
Yes.
Seeing this changes how I send my emails to Sandeep. I'm more likely to include screenshots now that I know that he's they're archiving what I sent.
Yeah, so these are all your emails, Tina, from WGU.
Very cool. Excellent. Any more questions? Feedback? Great. This is excellent. I got a few notes of things that I picked up along the way, and I should know these things. So thanks for that.
John, I've been working with Sandeep and using this stuff for a year. Every time I see Sandeep give a demo, I learn something new.
Yeah. That plugin's really cool.
Yeah, I use it quite a bit, the Outlook plugin.
All right. And I know a few people asked, I will have this recording up, and Sandeep and Tina, are you both okay with me sharing the content you shared, the presentations?
Yes.
Okay. So, because I usually post them, Sandeep, I don't know how much of them you want to post, but I usually post them on our forum. So this way they can have the video and the content underneath. Sometimes people like to steal slides because they have to communicate this internally. And so if you can send those over, that'd be appreciated. I'll have everything up. Everybody that asks, I'll have the recording up by Monday.